A few weeks ago, Nintendo released a Direct for the Switch 2, and it was here they announced Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, a new Dynasty Warriors style game featuring characters from the Legend of Zelda series. The surprising thing though, is right after this Direct, Nintendo confirmed that this game will be canon to the official timeline. This has reignited talks about the canonicity of the first two Warriors games, Hyrule Warriors and Age of Calamity, and whether or not they should actually be part of the main timeline. Right now, I wanted to focus on this video by Geist, where he explains why Age of Calamity specifically should in fact be canon. And while I don't agree it should be, if I'm playing devil's advocate here, it is possible that if we take Gigi's video and the time travel presented in game, we can place Age of Calamity on the official timeline in a way that fits and still works with the other games. And I'll show you how. When people discuss how Age of Calamity could work with the official timeline, we have two problems that would seem to prove that this game cannot be canon, and the first one comes from Tears of the Kingdom. So, Breath of the Wild releases in 2017, Age of Calamity releases in 2020. If we look at the events of that game on a surface level, it appears that Teriko, the small Sheikah Guardian, travels back in time to before the Great Calamity, causing a timeline split, which eventually leads to an alternate event where Calamity Ganon is sealed, but without a sacrifice by Zelda or the kingdom being completely wiped out. And this would have been fine, except Tears of the Kingdom released in 2023, and it killed this idea. Tears of the Kingdom features a causal loop, a time travel mechanic where two events cause each other to happen. Event A causes Event B, and Event B causes Event A. Everything in between these events has always and will always happen exactly the same, because any changes would not lead to the same event that causes the other to happen, and you'd get a paradox. With Tears, event number 1 is Link and Zelda find Corpsedorf, Zelda finds the Secret Stone, and Corpsedorf causes Zelda to accidentally travel back in time. Event number 2 is Zelda arriving in the past and later being a major part of the final battle where Ganondorf is sealed. These events cause each other to happen. Zelda cannot go back in time unless she finds the Secret Stone and Ganondorf, but Ganondorf cannot be sealed unless Zelda is sent back in time and fights him in the final battle. And we know Zelda was always in the past before there's even a hint of time travel in the story, because Corpsedorf recognizes Zelda, and he's been sealed for thousands of years. He would only know her if she was in the past to begin with. The reason this messes up Age of Calamity is because you cannot have any changes between the events of a causal loop, and because Breath of the Wild occurs within this loop, Teriko going back and changing the past breaks this mechanic. Things would not lead to the original event of Zelda and Link finding Corpsedorf, meaning she never goes back in time, meaning Ganondorf is never sealed, meaning Link and Zelda never find Ganondorf. It just doesn't work. Even if they find Corpsedorf in the alternate timeline, there's nothing that leads back to the original discovery, meaning it never happens, breaking the causal loop, which again doesn't work. It's a headache, but what I'm saying is Teriko cannot cause a timeline split because Tears of the Kingdom establishes that you cannot change events in the past. Keep this point in the back of your head for a minute. The other problem we have with Age of Calamity is that, as Geist says in his video, certain events that happen before Teriko even arrives and causes a split are not the same as we're told in Breath of the Wild. Things like when Link gets the Master Sword, or this Link specifically favoring a shield. This game has a different history even before events are changed, which implies the original Age of Calamity timeline is not the same as the official Wild Era timeline. This either means Age of Calamity is not canon, or the timeline we begin with is already an alternate timeline. So if we take the main points of these two problems, This is how we can hypothetically fit Age of Calamity on the official timeline. If the game begins in an alternate timeline already, but you cannot cause a timeline split during a causal loop, if we put these points together, Age of Calamity occurs in a timeline that splits somewhere before Zelda arrives in the past of Tears of the Kingdom, before the causal loop begins. Usually you can't mix certain time travel mechanics. For example, if a character goes back in time, either they are allowed to make changes, or everything they do was meant to happen. To be fair though, the series is very inconsistent about the specific mechanics of time travel in its universe. Skyward Sword is a single timeline with no changes allowed. Ocarina of Time has multiple timelines that do allow for changes. And Oracle of Ages has a single timeline but still allows changes as well. This universe does not have a single confirmed rule for its time travel. So for this series, you could argue that there is a timeline split before a causal loop, even though those two mechanics don't mix. We also have to assume that in this alternate wild era, events are still mostly the same, so that eventually we end up with a Great Calamity that's similar to the official timeline. That means Ganondorf would still have to be sealed in the past, since we know Calamity Ganon comes from that Ganondorf. But it would not involve Zelda because we know Terraco will later cause a timeline split, which again cannot occur during a causal loop like we see in Tears of the Kingdom, meaning in this alternate timeline, there is no causal loop. Putting everything together, if Age of Calamity was canon, it would have to be placed like this. But because I know there will be one person who mentions it, you could also argue that the official Wild Era takes place in one of the split timelines, while the Age of Calamity timeline occurs in another. I don't agree with it, but you could still totally argue for this. But what do you think? Do you agree, or do you have a headache like I do? Let me know below, and thanks for watching. Stop. We're not done yet, because this game is more of a headache than you probably realized. Age of Calamity establishes that when a character goes back in time, they create an alternate timeline and events can be different. So what do you think happens when the future champions travel to the past? Following the rules established by the game, this should create another split, with the new third timeline being the one where the champions arrive from the future. The funniest part is what happens when they go back to the future at the end of the game. When Terraco goes back in time, he leaves his original timeline behind and continues to exist in this new second timeline. It's like in Ocarina of Time, when Link is sent back to the past. He leaves his original timeline, the adult timeline, and continues to exist in the new child timeline. When Terraco pulls the future champions from the future, it would be from the future of his current position, meaning the second future. When these champions arrive in the past, technically this should cause another split, as established by the rules this game shows us. And these champions would exist in this new third timeline. But when they are sent back to the future, because they exist in this new third timeline, they would get sent to a future that isn't theirs. And because it's not where they are from, there might actually now be two versions of each champion. The ones from Future 2 and the ones from Future 3. Time travel is super fun,